What's up, guys? It's Alex here, and today I'm bringing you guys my way too early NCAA Tournament 2018 predictions. Joe Lunardi just released his 2018 Bracketology. The first update, this is before all the recruits have signed. There's still 4 top 10 recruits, and 6 of the top 19 recruits have yet to commit to a college to play in for this coming year. And there's still going to be a lot of people going to the draft, declaring for the draft. They're going to be going through the draft process. They might stay. They might come back to college. This is what you can do now if you don't hire an agent and you want to come back and improve your draft stock. And there's going to be a lot of shifting and a lot of different teams moving around, a lot of different players and power rankings moving around over the course of these next few months. But I'm going to go ahead and release my predictions for the 2018 NCAA tournament based off of this bracketology a year in advance. And a couple of things have surprised me. Gonzaga is still a 3 seed. Wichita State is the number 3 seed there, and in the way too early, actually top 25 polls, Wichita State was projected to be the number 6 team in the nation. So let's go ahead and get into it. And as always, if you guys have been following me throughout the 2017 NCAA tournament, I created a bracket on Bracketology.com, which you can go and vote in. And as always, the link will be in the description. So let's go ahead and get it started. Arizona is projected to be the number 1 overall seed in this tournament, so we're going to go ahead and vote for them. Then Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. Oklahoma had a terrible season this time around, and you can kind of see me in the reflection there, I just noticed. But yeah, they had a terrible season this past season, but they're projected to do pretty good and make a 9 seed next year. But I'm going to have to go with Vanderbilt moving on there. Purdue and Princeton, going to have to go with Purdue. I don't know if Caleb Swanigan's going to be staying. He declared but didn't hire an agent, but he'll probably be going, but I think they'll still win there. SMU is going to move past UT Arlington. Seton Hall will move past Rhode Island. Gonzaga will beat UNC Asheville. And I think Iowa State's going to beat Virginia Tech and move on as the 10 seed, and then Kentucky's going to beat 15 seed South Dakota State. Florida is actually projected to be a number 1 seed. I can see that happening. They might even be better than Kentucky in the SEC this upcoming year, but you never know. But I'm going to have to go with Florida winning there. Virginia and Creighton, both teams are going to be falling next year, but I'm still going to have to go with Virginia moving on. Nevada and St. Mary's is going to be my first upset. I think Nevada's going to win. They made it to the tournament, had a pretty okay game against Iowa State, but I think they're going to be able to turn around this upcoming year and defeat St. Mary's there. Then UCLA is going to beat the 13th seed New Mexico State. Baylor, even though they're losing Jonathan Motley, they're going to beat the winner of Arkansas, and St. Bonaventure is projected to even play in the tournament this year. Then North Carolina and the College of Charleston are going to have to go with the defending national champions, North Carolina. Florida State and Indiana. Florida State's losing Jonathan Isaac and maybe Dwayne Bacon, and I think Indiana, with their new coach Archie Miller coming from Dayton, I think they're going to move on there and beat Florida State. Then Villanova is going to beat the Kent State Golden Flashes. Then Kansas is going to beat the 16th seed Idaho/Lamar. And then I think USC is going to beat Wisconsin here. Wisconsin's losing a bunch of seniors who played their heart out, beat the number 1 overall seed Villanova this past tournament. But they're going to be going through a rebuilding process, and I think USC is going to move on there. Then Notre Dame is going to beat Vermont. Cincinnati is going to beat Bucknell. Texas Tech is going to upset Minnesota, and Minnesota is going to get upset for the 2nd year in a row in the first round. Richard Pitino won't be able to get his team to move on in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Oregon's going to beat Florida Gulf Coast. Xavier's going to beat Alabama. Though Alabama could surprise people this season, they're getting a lot of good recruits coming in, and I think that they're going to be playing. They might be the number 3 team in the SEC. So Xavier's going to move on there. Then Duke's going to beat Furman. Louisville is the number 1 projected seed. That was kind of a surprise, but if Donovan Mitchell stays, they got a lot of bigs coming back, and they got a lot of good recruits coming in too. They're going to move on. Northwestern is appearing in the tournament for the 2nd straight year. Actually, their 2nd year overall, but I think TCU is going to beat them there. TCU won the NIT this year. I think they're going to be turning around their program. Then this is a rematch of the 2nd round of the 2017 NCAA tournament. 5 Butler versus the 12th seed Middle Tennessee, but I think Butler's going to move on here. Then Michigan and Belmont. Michigan was a surprise, feel-good Cinderella story this season. I'm going to have to go with them moving on past Belmont. Then Miami, they turned it on late in the season. They lost the first round to Michigan State, but I think they're going to be able to beat the 11 seed Providence/San Diego State. Wichita State's moving on as a 3 seed here, beating Oakland. Michigan State and South Carolina. South Carolina had the very amazing Cinderella story run to the Final Four. Frank Martin did an absolutely amazing job moving that team forward. But they're losing Sindarius Thornwell. They're losing a couple of their key seniors. And I think Michigan State's going to move on there. Then West Virginia and Mount St. Mary's going to have to go with West Virginia. And for a spot in the Sweet 16, Arizona is going to beat Vanderbilt. Then SMU will beat Purdue. Seton Hall will lose to Gonzaga. Gonzaga's moving on as a 3 seed, and then Kentucky's going to beat Iowa State. Florida will beat Virginia, just as they did this past year. UCLA is going to beat Nevada. And then I think North Carolina is going to beat Baylor. And then I think Indiana might actually upset Villanova here. Villanova is going to lose in the second round for the second year in a row. Indiana is going to be surprising a lot of people next season. They're going to move on to the Sweet 16. Kansas and USC. Kansas is moving on. Notre Dame and Cincinnati. I'm actually going to have to go with Cincinnati here. I know a lot of people would pick Notre Dame. Oregon and Texas Tech going to go with Oregon. Duke and Xavier. I'd like to see Xavier win because I hate Duke, but I have to go with Duke winning there. Louisville and TCU. I can see the first number 1 seed Louisville losing to a hot TCU team that's been turning around their program, but I'm going to have to go with Louisville moving on. Michigan will beat Butler. Then we got Miami and Wichita State. I can see Wichita State moving on there. Then West Virginia and Michigan State, and I have West Virginia moving on. And guys, remember that this is a way too early prediction, so I don't know which teams are going to be poised for an upset, so I'm going to be going with a lot of the higher ranked teams here. Arizona versus SMU, going with Arizona moving on to the Elite Eight. Kentucky and Gonzaga. Kentucky's got a lot of good recruits coming in. Diallo's coming off a redshirt freshman season. He's got a lot of hype behind him, so I think that UK is going to move on here to the Elite Eight. Florida's going to beat UCLA. Then I think North Carolina is going to move on to the Elite Eight and beat Indiana. Kansas will beat Cincinnati. I think Duke's going to beat Oregon. Then Louisville is going to beat Michigan. They're going to get their revenge in the tournament after Michigan beat them as a 7 seed, beating the 2 seed last year. And I think Wichita State's going to move past West Virginia here into the Elite Eight. Then Kentucky and Arizona. I'm a Kentucky fan. I really want to pick Kentucky. I think they're going to have a lot of potential, but I don't know how this team is going to work out, so I'm going to go with Arizona, who's a bit more complete. They have a lot more returning pieces, and they're going to have a lot more chemistry as a result, but you never know. Florida and North Carolina, going to have to go with Florida moving on to the Final Four. Kansas and Duke, going to have to go with Duke beating Kansas. Then Wichita State and Louisville. I really want Wichita State to beat Louisville. I hate Louisville, but I have to go with them moving on into the Final Four. Arizona and Florida, matchup of the 1 seeds. Going to have to go with Florida beating them. And then Louisville and Duke, a matchup of the ACC top 2 teams. I'm going to have to go with Duke, moving past Louisville here. Then in the championship game, we have Florida versus Duke. Honestly, don't know who will win that, but I'm going to have to go with Florida. They have a lot of good pieces coming back. I think they're going to be poised to make a deep NCAA tournament run, maybe even win the whole thing as I'm 1 seed. They got a lot of potential. Joe Lunardi really likes them. A lot of people really like them. So, going to have to go with Florida there. And in the top 25 rankings, Kentucky is number 1, and Louisville is number 3, and I want to say that North Carolina is number 2. I can't remember what exactly it is, but I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember that this is a way too early prediction of the 2018 NCAA tournament just based off the bracketology a year in advance. So leave your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I shall see you guys later. Thanks for watching.